A total of 200 men and women were surveyed about eye color. Of the 100 women surveyed, 50 had brown eyes, 30 had blue eyes, and 20 had green eyes. Of the 100 men surveyed, 52 had brown eyes, 38 had blue eyes, and 10 had green eyes. Create a relative frequency table to display the data. What is the relative frequency of women with brown eyes across the entire population surveyed? Okay, so we're looking at relative frequency tables. If we want to create one of those, that's going to involve decimals to show what proportion of the population has certain traits. Let's start off by listing out our categories here on the table. So we're going to have female, and we're going to have male here, and then we'll have a row for the total. And then our columns are going to be the eye color. So we're going to have a column for brown eyes. We're going to have another column for blue eyes. We're going to have another column for green eyes. And then we'll have another total column. Okay, so this is where I'm going to fill in all of my numbers here. But just to be clear, we're not just going to plug in just the numbers that we see because we're doing a relative frequency table. That means we're finding proportions. So the total is 200 people, 200 men and women here. So my total out of everybody in the total men and women and all of the eye colors, we have 200 people. That goes here. Oh, not the number though. The 200 people is going to be represented as just 1, or 1.0. Now we're going to find all the other proportions. So let's look at this. For the women surveyed, there are 100 total women, and there are 100 total men. So when we're looking at the female and male rows here and the total number of them with all eye colors, 100 women, 100 men, so half of them are women, half of them are men. So for the total, regardless of eye color, we can write 0.5 is the total for females, and 0.5 is our relative frequency of males. For across all of the eye colors, it's going to add up to half are women, half are men, to give us our total of 1.0. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's go and let's start calculating some relative frequencies for our eye colors. So let's start with the women who have brown eyes. 50 women who have brown eyes. So 50 women have brown eyes out of a total of 200. That's equal to 1/4, which is equal to 0.25. So then in this column goes 0.25. So that means there are out of the entire population surveyed, out of all 200, 0.25 is the proportion that is female with brown eyes. Okay, next. Let's get some space here, and we're going to do the same thing for blue eyes. So let's see, we see 30 women had blue eyes, so that's 30 women, again, out of 200 total. So let's see, that's equal to 15 out of 100, which equals 0.15 as a decimal. So for a woman with blue eyes, that's 0.15. Actually, let me color code this so it'll be easy to see at the end. 0.15. Okay, and then last is woman with green eyes. There are 20 women with green eyes. So let's just replace this. So we have 20 women with green eyes out of 200 total people. And so we can see that's equal to 1 out of 10. 1/10 is 0.1. So then I'm going to put 0.1 in here. And you might notice that 0.25, 0.15, and 0.1 all add up to half. So this is all the relative frequency of different eye colors for females out of the total. We know that half of the people are female, so all together, each of the eye colors should add up to 0.5. Okay. Next, we're going to go look at the relative frequencies for our male row here. So again, we will start with our brown eyes here because we see 52 men had brown eyes. So that's 52 out of 200 total, which we can simplify to be 26 out of 100, which is equal to 0.26. So for men with brown eyes, we have 0.26 as the relative frequency there. For blue eyes, we have 38 of them. So let's go ahead and calculate the relative frequency for men with blue eyes. 38 men out of 200 people total. That will simplify to 19 out of 100, which simplifies to 0.19. So that's 0.19. And then last, green eyes. So for men with green eyes, we'll see 10 men have green eyes here. So let's go ahead and replace this. 10 men have green eyes out of 200 people total. And 10 out of 200 is going to be 1 out of 20. And then we're going to convert that to a decimal. 1 out of 20 is equal to 0.05. Okay, so again, we can see that 0.26, 0.19, and 0.5, those are the relative frequencies of men with each of those respective eye colors, and they'll add up to the relative frequency of men out of the total population. We know that half of the population in this survey were men, and so the men with brown eyes, the men with blue eyes, the men with green eyes, they all add up to that relative frequency of 1/2 if we add them all together there. And then lastly, so we saw that adding across the rows adds up to our total here, adding across this row adds up to our total for the men. Now if we want to add up the total of brown eyes for female and male, we can do that. Let's actually go with a different color here. What haven't we used? We can go with red. So we're going to add up to see the total number of people with brown eyes here. That will be 0.25 plus 0.26, so that's 0.51. We're going to add up the total number of people with blue eyes. That's 0.15 plus 0.19, so that's going to be 0.34. Add up those with green eyes, 0.1 plus 0.05, that's going to be 0.15. And then so that's how we can see our totals there. And then we should also see that everything does add up to 1 when we add up the halves, and when we add up 0.51 plus 0.34 plus 0.15, that should, we'll see that that will also add up to 1 when we add along this row. So that's how we do a relative frequency table. We're looking for the relative frequency of women with brown eyes across the entire population surveyed. So that's going to be females with brown eyes. And we'll see it's this value here that we calculated of 0.25. That's our answer.